Welcome to this explainer. Now, did you know that historically, right around 90% of wealthy families actually lose their entire fortune by the third generation? It's wild, but that massive loss almost always comes down to human error, mismanagement, and, just raw emotion. So today, we're diving straight into a fascinating intersection of tech, specifically DeFi, or decentralized finance, and artificial intelligence. We're going to look at exactly how AI-driven crypto farming is completely flipping those odds and redefining generational wealth. The digital age is taking what used to be a closed-door game exclusively for elite capital allocators and, well, democratizing the whole shebang. Okay, let's look at this really powerful idea from our source material because it perfectly sets the stage for us. True legacy building? It literally requires an entity that can transcend physical human limitations. I mean, to secure assets across multiple generations, human traits like needing sleep or letting fear drive a massive panic sell-off, those become huge liabilities. You absolutely need a tireless steward. To unpack all of this, we're going to follow a pretty clear roadmap today. We'll start with the human wealth bottleneck, then meet the autonomous agent, check out the mechanics of AI wealth, look at the risks of automation, go over the blueprint for safe implementation, and wrap up with a new digital legacy. All right, Section 1, the human wealth bottleneck. Let's look at the structural flaws we're dealing with in the digital age. This dynamic right here perfectly illustrates the core problem. Think about it. A traditional human portfolio manager needs 8 hours of sleep, copious amounts of coffee, and emotional support during a market dip, right? They operate on really slow timescales, managing things like real estate or index funds, and they're inherently vulnerable to panic. Crypto farming just intensely magnifies these human limitations because DeFi never, ever sleeps. It moves at internet block speed. So while a human is literally dozing off or freaking out over market volatility, yields can collapse or exploits can emerge out of nowhere. Trying to farm manually across multiple chains, you're basically fighting a losing battle against time and fatigue. The AI, on the other hand, operates completely unemotionally and instantly. Moving right along to Section 2, meet the autonomous agent. Time to look past the sci-fi hype. So an AI agent isn't some sentient, feeling robot plotting world domination. It's actually highly adaptable, deterministic software. Unlike those old, simple bots that blindly follow rigid rules like auto-compound every 6 hours, modern agents actually incorporate machine learning. They're trained on historical yield patterns and can even predict gas fees, which, as you know, are just the network transaction costs to move money around. If a stablecoin pool's yield suddenly drops below a specific threshold, this software can instantly redirect that liquidity to a much better protocol within a single block. Absolutely no human can match that kind of speed. Okay, Section 3, mechanics of AI wealth. Let's see how this actually secures assets over time. Our source anchors this whole concept on the famous idea of compound interest. But here's the crazy twist. An AI agent can harvest and reinvest rewards every few minutes. Just think about the sheer scale of that for a second. Over a decade, the mathematical difference between compounding your assets annually versus compounding them every few minutes is absolutely staggering. It takes what would be an impossible manual chore and turns it into this relentless engine of exponential growth. So these agents essentially execute 4 major functions, or pillars. First up is that continuous compounding at scale we just talked about. Second is risk-managed diversification. The agent doesn't just blindly chase the absolute highest yield, it dynamically shifts your capital away from platforms that are losing total value, constantly hunting for the safest return. Third, it exploits MEV, or maximal extractable value. Basically, the AI uses specialized bots to ethically capture tiny price differences in the market. It turns hidden network inefficiencies into extra yield for you. And fourth, it has built-in self-healing and failover mechanisms, which act as an automatic circuit breaker during protocol hacks. And that failover mechanism, it essentially acts as the financial equivalent of a biological immune system. It's an amazing metaphor from the text, and it perfectly describes how an agent reacts to threats. If a decentralized protocol is suddenly compromised, this immune system instantly detects the anomaly. It can bridge your assets to backup chains or yank them right into cold storage before a human could even get a smartphone notification that something went wrong. It's really incredible. Which brings us to Section 4, the risks of automation. Because we have to talk about what happens when the machine breaks. We have to ask this critical question. But what happens when the machine breaks? The harsh reality is, if a decentralized system fails or an AI agent acts on bad data, it can bleed capital way faster than any human gambler ever could. It's a terrifying thought. The text outlines several severe, catastrophic failure modes we need to clearly understand. First off, your autonomous agent is, at the end of the day, a piece of code. That makes it highly vulnerable to smart contract bugs and oracle manipulation, meaning the external data the AI relies on for pricing could be intentionally poisoned by hackers. Second, there's fragility from over-optimization. An agent trained purely on past data might fail spectacularly during unprecedented black swan events, like a supposedly rock-solid stablecoin suddenly depegging and losing its $1 value. Third, centralization vectors are a massive risk. If your entire automated empire relies on a single Amazon web server, you've just created a giant single point of failure. You also face shifting regulatory uncertainties, and finally, just the simple entropy of time an agent working perfectly today might become totally useless in 20 years if the underlying blockchain itself becomes obsolete. All right, Section 5, Blueprint for Safe Implementation. Let's apply some serious estate planning wisdom here. To actually survive those risks, the source provides a very specific blueprint for responsible implementation. Step 1, keep the agent on decentralized keeper networks instead of private servers. That way, you aren't relying on a centralized corporate entity to keep your bot running. Step 2, enforce multi-signature controls and time locks. This ensures that actual humans can intervene and slam on the brakes in an absolute emergency. Step 3, use multi-party computation for heirloom key management. Think of this as mathematically shattering your master password into multiple pieces, so no single heir can act alone or, accidentally lose the entire fortune. And Step 4, ensure the code is open source, formally verified, and subjected to continuous auditing. And to truly survive and build that legacy, you really have to embrace a get-rich-slow philosophy. When programming your vault, your parameters should conservatively target yields modestly above risk-free rates. We're talking like 8 to 12% APY in a mix of stablecoins and high-quality blue-chip collateral. You absolutely do not want your autonomous agent chasing triple-digit nonsense yields, because aggressively hunting those wildly unrealistic returns is pretty much a guaranteed mathematical path to ruin. Finally, Section 6, a new digital legacy. Let's bring this all together. When built with intense discipline and humbly monitored, this technology becomes exactly what the text describes, a digital butler for the bloodline. It totally transcends being just software, it becomes a fiduciary. It acts as a tireless digital steward that handles the relentless, exhausting speed of decentralized finance, working silently across blockchains, and ultimately allowing the heirs to simply attend to the business of being human. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder regarding the future of your wealth. Will your legacy be left to human emotion, or will you build an autonomous vault that actually outlives you? The tools to build an intergenerational automated financial fortress are quite literally here today, and I highly encourage you to explore the mechanics of DeFi and autonomous agents even further. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.